Single father rejected on blind date for being poor, until millionaire nearby approaches. What happens when a widowed teacher's first date in 4 years ends in public humiliation, and the woman who witnesses it offers him something completely unexpected? This is a story about grief that heals, love that returns, and the courage to let go of the past, to embrace the future. Before we start the story, write in the comments from which part of the world you're watching today. I don't date poor fathers. The words fell across the table like broken glass. Carlos Mendez felt the entire restaurant freeze, though probably no one else had heard. He looked at Beatriz, her perfect hair, her flawless nails, her expression of disdain she did not try to disguise. "Excuse me, what did you say?" he asked, though he had heard perfectly. "What you heard. I thought you were a university professor, not high school. I thought you lived downtown, not in that neighborhood, and I definitely did not know you had a daughter." Beatriz took her Prada handbag. "Look, Carlos, you seem like a nice guy, but I have standards. I cannot introduce you to my social circle. Do you understand?" No, he did not understand. Or perhaps he understood too well. It had been 4 years since Mariana died. 4 years since he held his newborn daughter with one hand while clutching his wife's cold hand as she faded with the other. 4 years of raising Lucia alone, sleepless nights, bedtime stories that ended with him crying silently afterward. And this was his first date, the first time he had dared to attempt something resembling normalcy. "I understand," he said finally, his voice calmer than he felt inside. "Have a good evening, Beatriz." She stood without looking back, heels clicking against the marble floor. Carlos remained staring at his glass of red wine, feeling the curious glances of other diners. Shame burned his face. The waiter approached discreetly. "Sir, would you like to order anything else?" "Just the check, please." While waiting, Carlos fidgeted with the wedding ring he still wore on a chain under his shirt. Stupid. Stupid to think he could do this. Stupid to believe anyone would want a man with a small child, a modest salary, and a heart still broken. "Excuse me." The voice was feminine, soft but firm. Carlos looked up and saw a woman standing beside his table. Mid-40s, naturally elegant, not like Beatriz, who seemed armored, but like someone comfortable in her own skin. She wore a gray wool coat, and her brown hair fell loose over her shoulders. "Yes?" Carlos managed. "I am very sorry about what just happened. I could not help but overhear." She extended a business card. "I am Elena Ruiz. I watched how you handled that situation with great dignity. Most men would have reacted with anger. You simply let go." Carlos took the card, confused. "Elena Ruiz, editorial director, Magical Tales," he read aloud. "A children's book publisher," Elena explained. "I heard you are a literature professor. That struck me as interesting." She paused. "Look, I know this is strange, and probably the worst possible timing, but I would like to talk with you. Not a date, just coffee, conversation. Someone who teaches literature and has a daughter must have stories to tell." "Why?" asked Carlos, genuinely perplexed. Elena smiled, a smile that reached her eyes in a way Beatriz's never had. "Because someone who can stay calm after being treated that badly is someone worth knowing. And because," she added with a touch of humor, "any enemy of that horrible woman is automatically my friend." Despite everything, Carlos found himself smiling too. "I will call," he said, tucking the card in his wallet. "I hope you do." Elena gestured goodbye and left, leaving a faint scent of jasmine in the air. Carlos paid the check, only his wine and the mineral water Beatriz had ordered before abandoning him, and walked out into the February cold. Madrid in winter was unforgiving, but tonight the cold felt purifying, washing the humiliation from his shoulders, On the metro home, he pulled out the card again. Elena Ruiz, Magical Tales, an appropriate name for a children's publisher. Lucia loved stories. Every night he read her at least 2 before sleep. Brave princesses, kind dragons, worlds where everything was possible. Should he call? Probably not. Probably it was another mistake waiting to happen. But something in the way Elena had looked at him, without pity, without judgment, only genuine interest, made him hesitate. He arrived at his apartment near 11. The babysitter, Mrs. Lopez from downstairs, was watching television on the sofa. She stood when he entered. "How was the date?" she asked with maternal hope. "Terrible," Carlos admitted. "But I am fine." Mrs. Lopez clicked her tongue. Women today do not know how to recognize a good man. Lucia was perfect. She ate all her soup, 2 stories, asleep by 8:30. "Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. How much do I owe you?" "Nothing, nothing. You know I adore that child like my own granddaughter." After Mrs. Lopez left, Carlos checked on Lucia. He found her curled under her unicorn comforter, hugging the stuffed rabbit that had been Mariana's as a child. Her dark hair, the same as her mother's, spread across the pillow. She was 4 years old, but sometimes seemed to understand more than children twice her age. "I love you, little one," he whispered, kissing her forehead. In his own room, Carlos changed into comfortable clothes and sat on the bed, looking at the photo on his nightstand. Mariana, radiant in her wedding dress, laughing at the camera with that joy she brought to everything. They had been so young, 23 she, 25 he. University students in love who thought they had all the time in the world. It was a disaster, he told the photo, as he often did. "The woman was horrible, but I met someone else. I do not know what it means, probably nothing. But for the first time in 4 years, I did not feel completely dead inside." The photo did not respond, obviously, but Carlos imagined Mariana would have said something sarcastic about Beatrice and something encouraging about Elena. She had always been generous with her love, even when they argued. He lay down but could not sleep immediately. His mind kept returning to the business card in his wallet, to Elena's warm eyes, to the possibility, terrifying and exciting at once, that maybe, just maybe, he could try again. The next day was Saturday. Carlos made pancakes for breakfast, weekend tradition, and watched Lucia cover them in maple syrup until she created a small sweet lake on her plate. "Daddy, why did you leave last night?" she asked between bites. "I had a meeting, sweetheart." "With a lady?" Carlos blinked. "How did you know?" "Mrs. Lopez told me. She said Daddy had a date." Lucia looked at him with her big brown eyes, Mariana's eyes. "What is a date?" "It is when 2 adults meet to see if they like spending time together." "Like playing?" "Something like that." Lucia considered this seriously. "Did you like the lady?" "Not very much." "Oh." Pause. "Would Mommy be angry?" The question hit him like they always did, Lucia's casual mentions of Mariana. "No, love. Mommy would want us to be happy." "Can I have more pancakes?" And just like that, the conversation ended, because 4-year-olds have the capacity to discuss profound topics and then ask for more food without apparent transition. They spent the day at the park despite the cold. Lucia needed to run, climb, burn energy. Carlos watched from a bench, wondering how this small person was half his, half Mariana's, but completely herself. That night, after bathing Lucia and reading her The Princess Who Rescued the Prince for the 100th time, Carlos sat at his small desk in the living room. Elena's card lay in front of him. Just coffee. Just conversation. What could he lose? "Everything," whispered a voice in his head. "You can lose everything again." But he had already lost everything once, and he had survived. He had raised a beautiful child. He had continued teaching, continued living, continued being human. Maybe it was time to try being something more than just a survivor. He dialed the number before he could change his mind. "Hello?" Elena's voice sounded slightly surprised. "Hello, this is Carlos, from the restaurant. I do not know if you remember." "Of course I remember. I am glad you called." "You mentioned coffee." "I did? Are you still interested?" "Definitely." "Tomorrow? There is a cafe near Retiro Park. It is called Cafe of Dreams." "I know the place. 11?" "Perfect." There was a comfortable pause. Then Elena said, "Carlos, just so you know, I do not care that you are a father. I do not care that you are a high school professor. And I definitely do not care where you live." "Why not?" "Because those things do not define who you are, and I am curious to discover who you really are." After hanging up, Carlos sat in silence for a long time. Something had changed. Not dramatically. He did not suddenly feel healed or whole. But there was a small crack in the armor of pain he had worn for 4 years. And through that crack, for the first time, a little light was entering. Sunday dawned with gray skies and threat of snow. Carlos woke early, nervous in a way he had not experienced in years. He showered, shaved carefully, changed shirts 3 times before deciding on a simple navy button-down. "Daddy looks handsome," announced Lucia from the bathroom door. "Thank you, Princess. I am meeting a friend for coffee." "The lady from last night?" "No, a different lady." Lucia frowned. "How many ladies do you know?" Carlos laughed. "Apparently more than I thought. Mrs. Lopez is coming to play with you." "Can we bake cookies?" "If she says yes." Cafe of Dreams was located on a quiet corner near Retiro Park, with large windows overlooking bare trees and people walking dogs. Carlos arrived 10 minutes early and ordered a cortado he did not drink, too nervous to swallow anything. Elena arrived exactly at 11. She wore jeans, winter boots, and a cream sweater that made her look approachable and real. None of the elegance from the restaurant. This was simply a woman coming for coffee. "Hello," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hello. Thank you for coming." "Are you kidding? I have been curious all week." She ordered a latte and a croissant. "So, Professor Carlos Mendez, tell me your story." "It is not very interesting." "Let me be the judge of that." So Carlos talked. He told her about growing up in a small town in Castilla, about discovering his love for books, about studying literature at Complutense, where he met Mariana. He spoke about how she was a medical student, brilliant and determined, how they fell in love over late-night coffees and shared exams. "We married right after graduation," Carlos said. "Stupidly young. Everyone said to wait, but we were so sure." He paused. "She got pregnant 3 years later. It was planned. We wanted a family. Everything was fine until—" "You do not have to tell me if you do not want to," Elena said gently. "Severe preeclampsia. We did not even know what it was until doctors started using the word with worried faces. They had to do an emergency cesarean at 35 weeks. Lucia was born well, small but healthy. Mariana—" His voice broke. "There were complications, hemorrhaging. They tried everything. She lasted 6 hours after delivery. 6 hours where I held her hand and promised her everything would be fine, that Lucia would be fine, that all would be well." "I am so sorry," said Elena, and Carlos could see she meant it. "It has been 4 years. Most of the time I function. I work, I care for Lucia, I survive. But I have not tried this, meeting someone, until 2 days ago." "What made you try?" Carlos shrugged. "Lucia started asking about her mother, about why other children have 2 parents. I realized my pain was affecting her. I thought maybe if I could show her it is possible to move forward. That is very brave, or very stupid depending on who you ask." Elena smiled. Bravery and stupidity often look the same from outside. She took a sip of her coffee. Now let me tell you my story. She grew up in a poor neighborhood of Vallecas, daughter of Ecuadorian immigrants. Her father worked construction. Her mother cleaned houses. Elena was the oldest of 4 siblings. Books were my escape, she explained. The local library was my sanctuary. I read everything: Cervantes, Garcia Marquez, fairy tales, anything I could get. I dreamed of making books someday, not just reading them. She studied publishing on scholarships, worked 3 jobs during university, graduated with honors. She spent 10 years working for large publishers where she learned the business. Then, 5 years ago, she founded Magical Tales. We wanted to make books that represented all children, not just the blonde and rich. Stories about diverse families, different realities, but always with magic, because all children deserve magic. Lucia would love your books, said Carlos. Bring her to the office someday. We have a room full of illustrated books. They talked for 2 hours. The cafe emptied, filled again, emptied once more. They discussed favorite books, the difference between teaching and preaching, how Madrid had changed. They did not mention Beatrice, did not discuss dating or romance. They simply conversed. I have to go, Carlos said finally, checking his watch. I promised Lucia we would make homemade pizza tonight. Sounds perfect. Elena put on her coat. Can we do this again? I would like that. Thursday, there is a botanical garden that does evening tours in winter, with lights. That sounds too romantic? Elena looked amused. I was going to say beautiful. Then it is a date, a real date this time. They walked together to the metro entrance. Before separating, Elena said, Carlos, just one thing. Your wife, you are not betraying her by continuing to live. She would want you to be happy. How do you know? Because any woman who loved enough to give you a daughter, knowing the risks, definitely loved you enough to want your happiness after her. They went in opposite directions. Carlos took the metro feeling something strange and forgotten. Anticipation. At home, Lucia had made a mess in the kitchen with Mrs. Lopez, flour everywhere, but perfectly baked cookies cooling on the counter. Daddy, look what we made. They are beautiful. Did you save any for me? All are for you. Well, all except the ones I already ate. That night, after pizza and bath time, Carlos read Lucia her current favorite story, The Girl Who Spoke to Stars. Daddy, said Lucia when they finished, is your friend pretty? Yes, she is. As pretty as Mommy? Carlos considered the question carefully. Different. Your mommy was beautiful in one way. Elena is beautiful in another. Elena is her name? Yes. I like that name. It sounds like a princess. Maybe she is. Can I meet her? The question took him off guard. Eventually, if things go well. What does that mean? It means we need to know each other better first. Oh, Lucia yawned. Okay, but if she is pretty and has a princess name, she is probably good. That is 4-year-old logic, Carlos laughed. It is princess logic, Lucia corrected, closing her eyes. In the living room, Carlos took out his phone and sent a message. Thank you for today. It has been a long time since I felt this normal. Elena's response came in seconds. Is normal good? Normal is perfect? The following days passed in a strange haze. Carlos taught his classes, Cervantes for 3rd year, Garcia Lorca for 1st year. But his mind wandered. He had not felt this nervous energy since he was a teenager. Thursday arrived with biting cold. Carlos picked up Lucia from kindergarten, left her with Mrs. Lopez, and took the metro to the botanical garden, feeling butterflies in his stomach. Elena waited at the entrance, wrapped in a red scarf. Ready for magic? The garden was spectacular, pathways lit with thousands of LED lights, creating artificial constellations among dormant winter plants. They walked slowly, their breaths forming clouds in cold air. "Tell me about teaching," said Elena. "Why literature?" "Because stories save us," Carlos replied. "It sounds corny, but it is true. When I was a kid in a town where nothing happened, books showed me the world was huge. When Mariana died, and I thought I could not continue, the stories I read to Lucia reminded me that narratives continue even after the sad parts. That is not corny. It is beautiful." "And you? Why children's books specifically?" "Because children still believe in magic. Adults are cynical. They need convincing. But children open a book expecting wonders. And if you can give them stories that say you matter, your family matters, your dreams matter, that changes lives." They stopped under a tree wrapped in blue and white lights. Snow had begun to fall, soft flakes that melted touching the ground. "Carlos," Elena said, turning toward him, "I need to know something. Are you ready for this? I do not want to be an experiment or a way to prove to yourself you can move forward. If we are going to try something, I need to know you are truly present." He considered the question honestly. "I do not know if I am completely ready. I do not know if I ever will be completely. But I do know that when I am with you, I do not feel dead inside. And that is more than I have felt in 4 years." "It is enough," she said softly. "For now, it is enough." He leaned in, slowly, giving her time to retreat. She did not. The kiss was soft, tentative, like a question. When they separated, both were smiling. "First time in 4 years," Carlos admitted. "How did it feel?" "Terrifying, wonderful, real." "Good combination." They walked the rest of the tour holding hands, talking less but feeling more. At the exit, Elena said, "Next week, I want to meet Lucia, if you are comfortable with that." Carlos swallowed. It was a big step, introducing his daughter to someone new. But Lucia had already asked, and something in Elena made him feel it was safe. "There is a lantern festival Saturday. For children, we could go together, the 3 of us." "Perfect." That night, Carlos sat with Mariana's photo longer than usual. "I met someone," he told her. "She is smart, kind, real. I think you would have liked her. I am going to introduce her to Lucia. That terrifies me more than anything. Am I doing the right thing?" Silence was his only answer, but somehow it did not feel empty. The week before the Lantern Festival passed in a succession of text messages, phone calls after Lucia slept, and one more date, this time at an old bookstore where Elena searched for first editions, and Carlos found himself talking about Lorca with a passion he had forgotten he possessed. "When you used to read," Elena asked while they browsed dusty volumes, "what made you feel most alive?" The metaphors. The way Lorca could take something ordinary, the moon, a knife, a guitar, and turn it into something that broke your heart. Carlos pulled out a volume of Poet in New York. Mariana said, "I love tragic poets because they understood that beauty and pain were inseparable." She was wise. She was, too wise to die so young. Elena touched his hand gently. "Carlos, can I ask you something difficult?" "Go ahead." "Does any part of you feel guilty for being happy now?" The question hit him with the force of its honesty. "Every day, every moment I smile, every time I think of you, there is a voice that says I am betraying her memory. That if I truly loved her, I would be too destroyed to move forward." "And what do you tell that voice?" "That love does not end when someone dies. It just changes form, and that staying broken does not honor her. It only wastes the sacrifice she made, giving me Lucia." He paused. "But that does not make the guilt disappear." "It should not disappear," Elena said softly. Guilt means you loved deeply. The trick is not letting it paralyze you. That conversation stayed with Carlos for days. The night before the festival, while tucking Lucia into bed, she asked, "Tomorrow we meet your friend?" "Yes, Princess. Is that okay?" "Does she know about Mommy?" "Yes, she knows." "Good, because Mommy is important. I do not want anyone to forget her." Carlos felt his heart squeeze. "No one will forget her, my love. Never. Elena understands." "How do you know?" "Because she has also lost people she loves. She understands that the past does not disappear just because the present arrives." Lucia considered this with the seriousness of small children. "Can I ask her about her books?" "You can ask her whatever you want." The Lantern Festival was held every year in Retiro Park. Hundreds of paper lanterns decorated by children lit at dusk, creating a floating sea of light. Carlos and Lucia arrived early. Lucia wore her favorite pink coat and had insisted on wearing her plastic princess crown. Because, she had explained with irrefutable logic, if Elena will meet me, she must see me as a princess. Elena appeared at 5 exactly, carrying a large bag. When she saw Lucia, she knelt to her height, a gesture Carlos appreciated. "Hello, Lucia. I am Elena. Your daddy has told me so much about you." "Do you make books?" Lucia asked directly. "Yes, I make books for children like you." "About princesses?" "Some, also about astronauts, doctors, adventurers, and children who save the world." "I want to save the world." "Then I definitely have books for you." Elena pulled out 3 books from her bag. "I brought these. I thought you might like them." Lucia's eyes lit up. Carlos recognized the tactic. Elena was not trying to buy the child's affection, but speaking her language. For Lucia, books were treasures. "Can we read them now?" "After the festival," Carlos intervened. "Now we make your lantern." They spent the next hour at the craft station. Lucia decided her lantern must be purple with golden stars. Elena helped patiently while Lucia deliberated over every sticker, every paint stroke. "You are good with children," Carlos observed quietly. "I work with them every day. Authors, illustrators, test readers, all under 12. You learn to speak their language." "Did you never want your own children?" Elena's expression became distant. "I was engaged once, 10 years ago. He wanted children immediately. I wanted to build my career first. We argued constantly. Finally, he told me to choose, him or the publishing house. I chose the publishing house." "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes, but I think we would have been miserable. He needed someone who put him first always. I needed someone who understood you can love your work and love a person, that it does not have to be either or." "And now? Do you still want children?" "Honestly, I do not know, but I like children, especially this one." Elena smiled at Lucia, who was concentrating on her lantern with absolute intensity. When darkness fell, hundreds of families lit their lanterns. The park transformed into a sea of flickering light, reds, blues, greens, yellows, reflecting in the lake. Traditional music floated from the stage. Vendors sold hot chocolate and roasted chestnuts. Lucia held her lantern with pride as they walked. Elena bought hot chocolates for all 3. They sat on a bench near the water, Lucia between them, watching the lights. "It is magical," Lucia sighed. "It is," Elena agreed. "You know what? We could make a book about a lantern festival, about a girl who makes a lantern so special it comes to life." "And has adventures?" "Huge adventures. It flies above the city, meets the stars, finds hidden treasures." "I like that story." "Then maybe you and I can write it together someday." Lucia turned to her father. "Daddy, can I write a book with Elena?" "If Elena is willing to work with such a demanding co-author, of course." Deal, said Elena, extending her hand to Lucia. They shook formally, which made Carlos laugh. Later, when Lucia chased other children around a fountain, Elena said, "She is wonderful. She has Mariana's curiosity and your seriousness." "How do you know Mariana was curious?" "Because she chose medicine. That requires infinite curiosity about how things work. And because she raised a daughter, even briefly, who constantly asks why and how." Carlos watched his daughter, her small silhouette lit by dozens of lanterns. "Sometimes it terrifies me, that I am raising her alone, that I am making mistakes I cannot undo. All parents fear that, but look at her. She is happy, secure, loved. That is what matters." "Elena," Carlos said slowly, "this, you, me, Lucia, is becoming real. Does it scare you?" "Terrifies me, but the good kind of terror, the kind that means it matters." Lucia came running back, breathless. "Daddy, Elena, look, there is a boat made entirely of lanterns." They spent the next hour exploring the festival. Elena bought cotton candy that Lucia shared generously, staining everyone's fingers with sticky pink sugar. They took photos, Lucia posing with her lantern, the three together near the lake. Elena and Lucia laughing at something Carlos did not hear, but made him smile anyway. Near 9, Lucia started dragging, sure sign that sleep approached. Carlos carried her as they walked to the exit, her head resting heavily on his shoulder. "Thank you for today," he told Elena while waiting for the taxi. "It was perfect. Lucia is extraordinary." "When do I see you again?" "Dinner? This time I cook? Thursday?" "At your apartment?" "Yes, nothing fancy, just homemade pasta and conversation." The taxi arrived. Before getting in, Elena kissed his cheek. "We are doing something good here, Carlos. Do not be afraid of it." In the taxi home, Lucia murmured half asleep, "Elena is pretty and fun and smells good." "Yes, she is." "Will we see her again?" "Definitely." "Good." Lucia closed her eyes. "You can tell her she can be Daddy's princess. Mommy would not be angry. Mommy would want you to be happy." Carlos felt tears burning his eyes. "How are you so wise, little one?" "I am a princess," she murmured. "Princesses know things." That night, after putting Lucia to bed, Carlos sat with Mariana's photo. "Today was good," he told her. "Really good. Lucia loves her. I am falling in love with her. Not in the same way I fell in love with you. That was young and fierce and all-consuming. This is different, quieter, like I have been in the cold for a long time and finally found a warm place to sit." The photo did not respond, but Carlos felt something loosening in his chest, something that had been tight for 4 years. It was not forgetting. It was permission. Thursday, Carlos left Lucia with his parents on the outskirts of Madrid, her first night away in months. His mother hugged him at the door. "You are different," she observed. "Lighter." "I met someone, Mom." Her face lit with cautious hope. "Yes? Is it serious?" "It could be. She is special." "Then we want to meet her. Soon." At Elena's apartment in Malasaña, Carlos discovered a space that reflected its owner, warm but elegant, full of books and art but not cluttered. It smelled of garlic and basil. "You are making pasta from scratch," he observed, seeing flour on the kitchen counter. "My Ecuadorian grandmother married an Italian. She taught me both cuisines." Elena handed him a glass of red wine. "Sit. Talk to me about your day." They fell into easy conversation while she cooked about his students who did not want to read anything written before 1990, about the new book her publishing house was launching about a girl astronaut, about the way Madrid changed but remained essentially the same. During dinner, perfectly al dente pasta with homemade tomato sauce, Elena said, "I have to confess something. I researched you after the restaurant." "Yes?" I read your articles. You published about modern Spanish literature, about teaching classics to modern generations. They are brilliant, Carlos. Why did you stop writing? When Mariana died, I dropped everything except essentials. Teaching, raising Lucia, surviving. Writing seemed indulgent. It is not indulgent. It is part of who you are. Maybe it used to be. It still is, just buried. Elena leaned forward. What if you wrote again, not academic articles, something different? What would you want to say? Carlos considered the question. I suppose I would want to write about how we continue, about finding beauty after tragedy, about... He stopped, feeling foolish. About what? About second chances, about how love does not always arrive the way you expect, but that does not make it less real. Then write that. Write it as essay, as memoir, as fiction, whatever works. But write it. After dinner, they moved to the couch. Elena put on soft music, Spanish jazz, trumpets, and guitars interweaving. Sitting close, not touching yet, Carlos felt anticipation building. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Always? How did you know you loved Mariana? The first time, I mean. It was simple. One day I realized that when I thought about the future, she was in every version. I could not imagine my life without her in it. And now, when you think about the future, what do you see? Carlos looked at her, really looked at her, her brown hair falling over her shoulders, her intelligent eyes watching him with patience, waiting for honesty, not promises. I see you, he said simply, and Lucia, and me, not just surviving, but truly living. That terrifies and excites me in equal measures. Good balance, Elena whispered, and then kissed him. This kiss was different from the botanical garden, deeper, more certain, more real. When they separated, both were smiling. So we are doing this, said Carlos. Officially. Officially. But Carlos, Elena became serious. I need you to know I am not trying to replace Mariana. I am not competing with a ghost. I am building something new with you. I know, and that is exactly what I need. They spent the rest of the evening talking, kissing, laughing, rediscovering the intimacy both had thought they might never feel again. It was not perfect or without complications, but it was real. And after years of only surviving, real was more than enough. The following 2 months passed in a kind of cautious happiness. Carlos and Elena saw each other 2 or 3 times weekly, sometimes with Lucia, sometimes alone. Gradually, the pieces of their lives began intertwining. Elena came for Sunday dinners, helping Carlos in the kitchen while Lucia made drawings at the table. She attended Lucia's school play, where the girl played a tree with disproportionate enthusiasm. Carlos visited Elena's publishing house, meeting her team and seeing the world she had built with determination and vision. But not everything was easy. Mariana's sister, Pilar, finally called. Carlos had been postponing telling her about Elena, knowing it would be difficult. Pilar had idolized her older sister and wore her death like an open wound. Carlos, her voice was tense over the phone, I heard from Mom you are seeing someone. Yes, her name is Elena. She is... How long? About 3 months. 3 months. Pilar laughed without humor. Mariana has been dead 4 years, and you have already replaced her. It is not like that, Pilar. No? Then what is it? How do you explain letting a stranger into Lucia's life? That child is all that remains of my sister. Lucia is not a relic, Carlos said, trying to stay calm. She is a living child who needs to see that life continues. That love does not end when someone dies. And does this woman understand that? Does she know you will always be Mariana's first? I do not belong to anyone, Pilar. I loved Mariana with everything I had, but she is gone, and she left me with a daughter to raise and a life to live. Choosing Elena does not betray that. It honors it. It shows that the love Mariana gave me was so strong I can love again." There was a long silence. Then Pilar said quietly, "I need to meet her. If she is going to be near Lucia, I need to know who she is." "Okay, let us arrange lunch." The lunch was tense. Pilar arrived armed with invasive questions about Elena's work, her family, her intentions. Elena answered them all with grace and patience. "Do you want your own children?" Pilar asked abruptly. "Honestly, I do not know. But if Carlos and I have a future, Lucia comes first. I am not trying to be her mother. She already had one, and from everything I know, Mariana was extraordinary. I am just trying to be someone who loves and supports her." "And what happens when you tire of playing family?" "Pilar," Carlos warned, but Elena raised a hand. "It is a fair question. The answer is, I am not playing. I do not do things halfway. If I commit, it is real. And Carlos deserves someone who sees him, not as a widower, not as a single father, but as the complex, brilliant, loving man he is." Something in Pilar's face softened slightly. Mariana would have said the same about him. Then she was right. The meal ended without clear resolution, but less hostile than it began. As they separated, Pilar told Carlos, "I am still not sure about this, but I can see you are not being reckless. Just protect Lucia. She is fragile." "Lucia is many things," Carlos said firmly, "but fragile is not one of them. She is resilient, like her mother." That night, after Lucia slept, Carlos called Elena. "Thank you for today. Pilar can be intense." "She is grieving. Grieving people often cling because letting go feels like betrayal." "How are you so wise about this?" "My father died when I was 20. Construction accident. My mother remarried 3 years later, and at first I hated her for it. I thought she had forgotten Dad, but eventually I understood. She did not forget. She just chose to live. There is a difference." "Do you get along with your stepfather now?" "He is one of my best friends. He taught me not to fear love just because it can end. Everything ends eventually. That does not make it less valuable." Carlos felt something loosening in his chest. "I love you," he said, surprising himself. Silence. Then Elena's voice, soft but firm. "I love you too, completely, without reservations." 2 weeks later, Elena organized a dinner at her apartment. Her family, Carlos's parents, Lucia. It was the first time their worlds officially converged. Elena's family arrived first. Her mother, Teresa, small and warm, immediately hugged Lucia. What a beautiful princess! Her stepfather, Giovanni, brought Italian wine and joked in Spanish with heavy accent. But her brother, Andres, was different, cold, evaluating, clearly skeptical. When Carlos's parents arrived, the dynamic became more complex. His mother, Anna, polite but distant. His father, Roberto, overly jovial, trying to cover discomfort. Everyone dancing around the elephant in the room. Mariana. During dinner, Andres finally spoke. "So, Carlos, Elena says you are a professor. Public high school?" "Yes, I teach literature." "Interesting. I suppose the pay is not spectacular." "Andres," Teresa warned, "just asking. Elena is accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Her publishing house is worth millions. I just wonder if I can support her," Carlos finished, his voice dangerously calm. "The answer is no, I cannot. I do not have millions. I have a 2-bedroom apartment, a teacher's salary, and a daughter to raise. But I have integrity, work I love, and genuine love for your sister. If that is not enough for you, I respect that. But I do not need your approval, only Elena's." Silence fell over the table. Then Elena put her hand on Carlos's. And he has mine. Completely. Giovanni began clapping slowly, smiling broadly. Bravo. Finally someone puts Andres in his place. The tension broke. Conversation continued. Easier now. Later, while collecting dishes, Carlos's mother pulled Elena aside. "I need to know," Anna said. "Is this serious for you? Because if you are experimenting, I would prefer you end it now, before Lucia gets more attached." "It is completely serious," Elena replied. "I love your son, and I love your granddaughter. I am not here because I am bored or lonely. I am here because I found a family that makes me want to stay." Anna studied her face for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, then I will give you a chance, but hurt either of them and you will have to deal with me." "Fair deal." That night, after everyone left, Carlos helped Elena clean. Lucia had fallen asleep on the couch, curled under a blanket. "Your family is interesting," Carlos said. "So is yours. Your mother terrified me a little." "She is just protecting. She has seen how much I have suffered." "I understand, and you are lucky to have people who care so much." Elena leaned against the counter. "Carlos, are we ready for the next step?" "What step?" "Moving in together. Eventually. Not immediately, but is that something you want?" Carlos felt panic and excitement in equal measures. "Yes, but I need time. Lucia needs time." "Of course, I just wanted to know if we were on the same page." "We are. Definitely?" He carried sleeping Lucia home in a taxi. On the way, she murmured, "Is Elena going to live with us someday?" "Maybe. Would you like that?" "Yes, then we could read books every night, and she cooks better than you." Carlos laughed. "Thanks for the honesty." "It is okay, Daddy. You still make good pancakes." At home, while tucking her in, Lucia asked sleepily, "Would Mommy have loved Elena?" The question stopped him cold. "Yes," he said finally. "I think she would. They would have been friends." "Good, because if Mommy loves her and I love her and you love her, then she is family." "Princess logic," Carlos smiled. "The best logic," she murmured, closing her eyes. Carlos sat by Mariana's photo later. "Things are changing," he told her. "Fast. Lucia is happy. I am happy. But I still miss you. I will always miss you. That is okay, right? Can I love Elena and still miss you?" The silence, as always, was his answer, but this time it did not feel like emptiness. It felt like peace. Spring arrived in Madrid with explosions of flowers and longer days. Carlos had been writing again, small essays about literature, memory, love. Elena read each one, offering gentle criticism and genuine encouragement. "You should publish these," she said one afternoon while reading his latest essay about teaching Don Quixote to cynical teenagers. "Who would want them?" "I want them. My publishing house is starting an adult series, memoirs, essays, reflections. These would fit perfectly." "Elena, I cannot accept favoritism." "It is not favoritism if they are good, and they are." She closed her laptop. "Carlos, allow yourself this. Allow yourself to be more than just a survivor." He considered her words. For 4 years he had defined his existence by loss. Widower, single father, grieving man. When had he stopped seeing himself as writer, thinker, complete person? "Okay," he said finally, "I will try." But not everything was smooth progress. In May, Lucia had a nightmare about her mother. She dreamed Mariana returned and was angry about Elena. The child woke crying, inconsolable. "Is Mommy angry with me?" she sobbed against Carlos's chest. "For loving Elena?" "No, love, no. Mommy would want you to be happy, would want you to love and be loved." "But I forgot her. I cannot remember her voice." The pain of that admission broke Carlos's heart. Lucia had been only months old when Mariana died. Her memories were mostly photos and the stories Carlos told. "That is not forgetting," he said gently. "That is growing up. But we have videos. Do you want to see some?" They spent the next hour watching old family videos. Mariana pregnant, laughing about something silly. Mariana in the hospital holding newborn Lucia, her face radiant with love, even as doctors already worried. Mariana on her last conscious day, recording a message for Lucia. "My little one," Mariana's voice said from the screen, weak but clear. "If you are watching this, it means I could not stay with you. That breaks my heart. But I want you to know, nothing was your fault. You gave me the greatest gift, life. And though I cannot watch you grow, your father will. Love him. Listen to him. And if someday he finds someone else who loves you both, let her in. Love does not divide. It multiplies. You will always be my daughter, but you can have many people who love you. That is gift, not betrayal." Carlos had never shown this video to Lucia before. He was waiting until she was older, but now seemed the right time. When it finished, Lucia dried her eyes. "Mommy said it is okay." "Yes, she did." "Then I am not being bad." "You were never bad, princess." The next day, Lucia insisted Elena come over. When she arrived, Lucia led her straight to her room and showed her the photo of Mariana she kept beside her bed. "This is my mommy," she announced. "She said I could love you too. So I love you. Is that okay?" Elena knelt, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "More than okay. It is perfect, and I promise never to try replacing her. I just want to add." "Like adding chocolate to milk," Lucia said wisely. "The milk is still there, just better." Elena laughed through tears. "Exactly like that." In June, Elena was invited to give a talk at Lucia's school about writing and publishing. Carlos attended, sitting in the back of the gymnasium while his daughter watched Elena with obvious adoration. Afterward, when children crowded with questions, Lucia announced proudly, "She is my daddy's girlfriend, and she is going to live with us." This was news to Carlos. Later, walking home, he asked, "Where did you get that?" "I heard you talking. Elena said her lease ends soon. Is she moving in with us?" Carlos and Elena exchanged glances. "Do you want her to?" Elena asked carefully. "Yes, then we can read books every night, and she can teach me to cook pasta, and we can be a real family." "We are already a real family," Carlos said softly. "I know, but this way would be more official." That night, after Lucia slept, Carlos called Elena. "So, your lease?" "It ends in August. I have been looking at new apartments, but nothing feels right." "There is another option." "Yes?" "Move in with us, not because Lucia announced it publicly, but because I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to build a real life, not just steal moments between responsibilities." Silence. Then Elena's voice loaded with emotion. "Are you sure?" "Completely. You?" "I have never been more sure of anything." July arrived with suffocating heat. Carlos spent days preparing the apartment, reorganizing, cleaning, making space. Lucia helped, mostly by creating more mess while discussing which room should be Elena's office. One afternoon, while packing things, Carlos found the box. He had kept it in the back of his closet for 4 years, Mariana's belongings from the hospital, her clothes from the last day, the wedding ring she had worn. Elena found him sitting on the bedroom floor, holding the ring. "Do you need a moment?" she asked softly. "No, I need to do this." Carlos stood, went to his desk, took out a small velvet box. Inside he placed Mariana's ring along with a note. "For Lucia, when she is older, from her mother, with love." "That is beautiful," Elena said. "It is time to let go, not forget, never forget." but let go. He stored the box in the safe drawer. Mariana will always have a place in this house, but now you will too. The move in August was chaotic. Elena's family and Carlos's parents came to help. Boxes everywhere, furniture rearranged, Lucia running between everyone's legs with her stuffed rabbit. "It is like Christmas," she shouted, "but with more boxes." That first night, after everyone left and Lucia finally fell asleep exhausted, Carlos and Elena sat on the couch surrounded by unpacked mess. "So we really did this," Elena said. "We really did." "Regrets?" "None. You?" "Only that we did not do it sooner." They kissed, tired but happy. Outside, Madrid buzzed with nightlife. Inside, their small family breathed its first breath as a complete unit. September brought new routine. Elena worked from home 2 days weekly, which meant being there when Lucia returned from school. They cooked together, read together, existed together in ways that felt both strange and perfectly natural. One afternoon, while Elena helped Lucia with homework, the girl asked, "Can I call you Mom?" Elena froze. Carlos, making coffee in the kitchen, also stopped. "You can call me whatever feels comfortable," Elena said carefully. "But you have a mom. Her name was Mariana, and she loved you tremendously." "I know, but she is not here, and you are. Can I have 2 moms?" "I do not see why not." "Then you are Mom Elena, and she is Mom Mariana." Lucia returned to her homework as if she had solved a complex mathematical theorem. Carlos found Elena later crying silently in the bathroom. "Are you okay?" "Better than okay. I never thought I would have this. A family, a child who calls me Mom, a man who loves me despite all my quirks." "Not despite them, because of them." October brought the first draft of Carlos's essay book. Elena read it in one sitting, crying at some parts, laughing at others. "It is brilliant," she declared. "Painful and honest and beautiful. The world needs to read this." It is just about a regular guy trying to figure out life. Exactly why it will work, because we are all trying to do that. November arrived with cold promising snow soon. The anniversary of Mariana's death was December 3rd. Carlos had dreaded this day for months, the first with Elena officially part of their lives. "What do you want to do that day?" Elena asked one night as they prepared for bed. "I usually take Lucia to the cemetery. We bring flowers. We talk to her." "Do you want me to go with you?" Carlos considered the question. Part of him wanted to keep that tradition private, just him and Lucia. But another part, the part learning that love does not divide but multiplies, wanted Elena there. "Yes," he said finally. "You are part of our family. You should be there." December 3rd dawned cold and bright. The 3 went to the cemetery together. Lucia carried the flowers, yellow roses, Mariana's favorites. Elena carried her own small offering, a children's book from her publishing house about a star that guided lost travelers. Standing before the headstone, Carlos spoke. "Hello, love. It has been 5 years. Lucia is growing so fast. Smart, funny, kind, exactly like you. And I—" He paused, finding words. "I am okay. Better than okay. I met someone. Elena. She cares for our daughter. She cares for me. She loves us, and we love her. I hope that is okay with you. I hope you see I am not replacing you, just continuing, like you said I should." Lucia added, "Mom Mariana, this is Mom Elena. She is very nice. You would like her. She makes pasta and reads stories and lets me help choose books to publish. I still miss you, but I am also happy. I think both things can be true." Elena knelt, placed the book against the headstone. "Mariana, I did not know you, but I love the people you created and left behind. I promise to honor your memory, care for your family, and make sure Lucia always knows how much you loved her. Thank you for giving her life. And thank you for loving Carlos so well that he can still love." They stood in silence for a time, cold biting their faces, but no one wanting to leave yet. Finally, Lucia said, "I think Mom Mariana is happy. I feel she is." "Me too," Carlos nodded. That night, after Lucia slept, Carlos took out all the photos of Mariana he had been keeping in boxes. Together, he and Elena organized them into a new album, carefully labeled, lovingly preserved. "She was beautiful," Elena said, looking at a photo of Mariana laughing. "She was, inside and out. I am not afraid of her memory, you know. I am not jealous. I am just grateful she taught you to love so deeply. It makes me trust you will love us the same way." "Not the same way," Carlos corrected. "In a better, more mature way. The love I had with Mariana was our first love, fierce and young and impetuous. What we have now is conscious choice. It is daily choice. That is different, not lesser, just different." Elena kissed his forehead. "Then let us choose each other tomorrow too, and the day after, and every day we can." On December 20th, Elena's publishing house launched Carlos's book. The presentation was small, family, close friends, some teaching colleagues. Carlos read an essay aloud about finding beauty after tragedy, about the courage required to love again. When he finished, Lucia ran to him. "Daddy, you were so good. Can I have a book?" "You can have the first from the press." That night at home, the three cuddled on the couch. Outside, snow began falling, the season's first flakes, transforming Madrid into a winter wonderland. "You know what?" Lucia said dreamily. "This is the best family." "The best family," Elena agreed. Carlos looked at the two people he loved most in the world. He thought of Mariana, of the love they had shared, of the pain he had survived. He thought of Elena, of the second chance she had given him, of the future they were building. "Yes," he said softly, "the best family." And as snow fell outside, turning the world into something new and clean, Carlos finally felt what he had been seeking for 5 years. Not the end of grief, not forgetting the past, but peace with both. The pain of losing Mariana would never completely disappear. But now it lived alongside the joy of loving Elena. And somehow those two feelings, pain and joy, memory and hope, coexisted in his heart without contradicting each other. Because that is how true love works. It does not replace, it does not erase, it simply adds, expands, multiplies. And in that small apartment in Madrid, with snow falling outside and an imperfect but perfect family cuddled inside, Carlos finally understood what Mariana had tried to tell him in that final video. Love does not divide. It multiplies. Always.